we came to the gym like and we did like we are doing workout like, but I'm not talking to him. He doesn't talk to me. So I'm like, okay, do this, we do that. Do this, we do that. Okay, we done. See you. That's it.
But he still did
And then, like,
everything.
we do that like for I mean like for 2-3 weeks, like, and then after that we're like, yeah, nothing happened.
He is currently one of the most complete basketball players maybe in history. So how does one continue to improve? Or is it now just about maintaining that level of ability?
That's that is a great question. That's how we start to work on that one leg shot. But what happened in meantime, he twisted his ankle. I think it was his left ankle. It starts to hurt him. So then he started to do it only of the right leg. And
It looks awkward a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and then he started to do it on the right leg. And
You're listening to Board with Nelly.
My guest today is Ognjen Stojaković. He is the assistant coach for the Denver Nuggets. He's also been working with the team for over a decade, starting out as a video coordinator. On a daily basis, he works with the best basketball player on the planet, Nikola Jokic. He is an NBA champion, a FIBA World Cup finalist, and is currently working as an assistant coach for the Serbian Olympic team. Wow. What a resume.
wow. It sounds great when you said
it. When I read that back to you, how does it sound? Because you started almost 15 years ago at FMP. Does this resume, does these accolades actually mean something at this current time in your life?
I mean, theoretically, I think that I started like as a coach, I think 20 years ago, more than that.
Wow.
Yeah. That's first part, but like, when you said it like that, and I don't know, it just sounds cool, honestly.
I should be your resume guy.
I don't know why, it sounds cool.
Do you need an agent? I can fill in. I can be your agent. I can start selling your resume.
Yeah, I can be my agent now.
Okay, when we look back at this crazy career this is still a very young career in terms of NBA coaching, and in this space, 15 years seems like it's nothing, right? It's just the start. How do we get into basketball? I know your brother played a lot of basketball, played Division I in the States. Where was your love, and where did your love for basketball come from?
But basically, my brother and I, we started together at the same time. Like we were like, I was fifth grade of elementary school. That's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. When we were like 11, I was 11 years old, 11, 12. And then it was literally in our neighborhood. So we did karate before that. Mm-hmm. And we had we moved to different part of the city, and in front of our building, there were like basketball hoops. And, and our father played basketball before, and just one thing lead to another. We started to play basketball and in the neighborhood, right? And
yeah.
That's how it started, So
what are your highest basketball level? What level did you play at?
I played back in the days. I was when I was 16. I was a part of pro team basketball club Mladost. That was like Division I or like highest level of in that period of Serbian League. And actually, it was I think that period was Serbia and Montenegro. And I was 16. I was a part of that pro team, as a young kid, young pro kid who kind of had some kind of future. But it's
right.
Obviously, I didn't have a future in that.
You had a different kind of future. That's still a good one.
Yes.
What were your what kind of player were you? I don't know how tall you are. I think you're a little bit shorter than your brother.
Yeah.
Not to diss you here, but yeah, what kind? Were you a point guard?
Yeah, I was playing. I was laughing because Facundo Campazzo was a part of Denver Nuggets.
Yes.
So we kind of look like with a beard and dark hair, and we're same height. And actually, the funniest part is actually that I played literally like
Really?
like very very similar. And we always laugh. I was Facundo Campazzo for the poor people.
So when did the dream of playing end and the dream of coaching begin?
I mean, that was kind of a reality of situation. Like back in the days, again, when I played, that was a long time ago. It was offense was for 30 seconds in Europe. So in that kind,
Yeah.
it was trend to have like tall point guards, like for example Marko Jaric. So you have
Yeah.
6'6" point guards, 6'5" point guards. So it was kind of like that was the trend in that period. And like I had like a couple injuries, which means that like I start to lose my speed and explosiveness. And again, like you start to figure out, okay, for someone my size to play basketball in that time, you need to be unique in something. So you all you need to be like super physical fit, or you're extremely strong or something like. But again,
Right.
and with those injuries that I had, I just kind of like figure out, okay, that maybe, I mean, that was like a reality check. So
Sure.
and
But there's very like that under 6 feet in the NBA is such a rarity. There's only maybe a handful of players that come to mind that have had really good careers. We're talking about like Earl Boykins and I don't know. I think Allen Iverson was about that size, but they had such an insane gift. They had one thing that they were so Isaiah Thomas,
yeah,
this one talent.
but
Yeah.
like in Europe, again, back in the days, now things
Right.
change now. Now you have way more of like shorter. You have shorter players, and basketball changed from that period. But again, in that period, offensive shot clock was 30 seconds, and then in 30 seconds, it's kind of like it's rhythm of the game was very very slower. And for you, it was like for each team, you need to have size was super important, speed and not so
Right.
much. And again, that was just different period of basketball. So
Right. So you stopped playing basketball obviously because of injuries, reality check, and then what's the first coaching job look like? How do you get into that?
accidentally, literally, because I
Wow.
when I stopped to play, my like I tried to get back like a couple times, but just my ankles couldn't. Again, medical
Yeah.
care wasn't
Yeah, and
on
Serbia.
that level, right? So I tried to get back like one or two times, but I just like my ankle just didn't.
Didn't want to come back with you. You wanted to come back.
my,
I'm just gonna stay here.
I tried all those kind. Okay, it's not pain. Everything is in your head. You can.
Right. Oh yeah.
It didn't work.
It's not in your head.
So like I stopped, and then like while I was kind of like that in between, I was start just for fun to coach kids in my team. Like that was like kind of like under 12, 14 or less. So they were like under 12 kids. And
Right.
it was like and I started to love it. Like I was like, hey, let me show them this, let me show them that. And like my ball handling was always very good. My technique, like
Right.
I was an old school point guard. Like I understand the game. So
I mean, your brother is a similar way, right? Would you say
yeah,
your brother?
actually, yeah,
Your
exactly.
brother fundamentally, I played with him many times.
Yes,
He's
yes, yes.
as sound as it gets.
Yeah. So it's kind of like it's. Uh, I mean, I just started to love it, and like it was super fun for me to see feedback, how those kids are growing, how they're picking up stuff. And maybe like 20 days after that, or maybe 30 days after that, I saw one older coach, famous in Serbia, like famous. He's known as someone who knows how to develop young players, how to put them in the right position, right system, and so on. His name is Dragan Dragosavac, and he's coming basically from that old Yugoslavian Serbian school of basketball. Like learn from the best and so on.
Right.
And he was, hey, are you still playing? I was like, no, 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 I stopped playing. I start to coach, and in one moment, hey, I need assistant coach. Do you want to start to work for me? And I was
Wow.
like, whoa, okay. I mean, and then I start to think, okay, if I start to do coaching, let me at least be around someone who knows that and who is coached for 40 years,
Right.
and to pick up like his brain and learn some things. And again, I think that I learned a lot from him, and like I'm very very grateful that I was around him, because fundamental coaching job I learned. So that was, for me, that was, I'm still using concepts like,
From
I
him.
learned that concepts as a concept, of course. Then you start to add your own things and you develop
Sure.
that. But as a concept of coaching, I learned a lot. And plus, in that period, I was I studied faculty for sport and physical education, and just again, like, I picked up a lot from my faculty, from my college faculty
Sure.
actually, and then like picked up a lot of from him, and again, one thing lead to another, and that's how I started.
This is what, 20 years ago? This was in the early 2000s?
Yes, I think 20 years ago.
So that kind of, what does that job look like? Is that even a paid gig? Are you doing that in something else? Is it
Yeah, it was paid,
yeah.
but it was like of course it wasn't paid. Like, you can live.
What did you have to do something else
Yeah,
obviously on this?
I
Yeah.
mean, I was studying that period, so it was like I was studying, and I did coaching, so it was kind of like
Okay.
both things. And then, like, we worked with two generations, and I think that was now all those generations mix. 1991 and 1992, bro, with those two
Wow.
generations. And what happened then, one of the best teams in Europe in that period for development young players, FMP, called us with those two generations to come to their team, to be part of their team. And
Wow.
actually, they offered him a job, Dragan. They offered him a job to be kind of like chief of that youth program and so on. And that's how I moved from from there to FMP system. And again,
Wow.
that, I mean, just,
That was a quick amount of time. That was not a, that didn't, how many years was that in between?
I mean, we worked for, I think it was like 2 years, for 2 years there. And but again, that was so. But those two generations, I mean, we did a really really good job. I mean, again, like, it's always ungrateful to talk about what you did, but again, we
Sure.
did because there is a reason why they called us. Because I think that we beat, for example, that FMP in that period, maybe like 30, 40, 50 difference. But again, but
Wow.
but like, not
Yeah.
by, not because we are such a good coaches we trick them, but because our kids grow up and developed in such a good manner. So
Right. So how do we go from that coaching job to starting in the NBA and getting an NBA opportunity as a video coordinator?
again,
Again, accidental.
not kind of accidental, but like, again,
Yeah.
it's very hard when you start to talk to people and say, like, yeah, it's sometimes you deserve your luck.
Sure.
Um,
Success is just luck and timing, right?
of
Or
course, yeah.
hard work and timing and a little bit of luck.
So and what happened, like, I worked there for, I think, 7 years in FMP, and I went through basically all generations. That's how, in Serbia, that's how you do coaching. So when you start as a coach, you actually coach. So you start with the, let's say, youngest kids, and then as they grow, you grow as a coach, and then you
Right.
add certain things. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think that Serbian coaches are good coaches, because you start with
It's a really good system.
exit season,
Yeah.
you grow up. Players
Right.
are growing up, and you also growing up as a coach. You coach all the time.
Right.
So, and I worked there like for 7 years. In meantime, like, certain people. I mean, I think that I did a decent job.
Yeah.
And one of the uh, in meantime, I met Tim Connolly, who I mean, I met him. I met him because, like, Yaron Arbel, who was a international scout for him, and while he was working in New Orleans, he was the guy who actually recommended me to team, and he said to team, "Hey, this is the guy who is doing like good job and good guy,"
Wow,
and like
that's huge.
yes,
That was a huge
and
call.
I don't know, he just kind of like recommended me, and in the meantime, I stay in touch with Tim Connolly, and in one moment, Denver Nuggets actually. Denver Nuggets needed someone like me, someone
Yeah.
with international experience, someone who knows how to do things that I'm doing, and he pulled the trigger and brought me to Nuggets.
Were you making scouting reports of Serbian and European players at the time and sending them out? Were you also doing some sort of scouting duties? Because I think I could be wrong, but I think your brother told me you had really long, detailed reports of various players and maybe leagues, or am I mistaken?
No, his was like every time when he needed some kind of information about players, he asked me. I was, hey, what you think about this guy, or what you think about that guy, and then I start to be like, okay, let me tell you my opinions about certain guys, and that's how I
Right.
like.
Was it EuroLeague players, Serbia specific players, any play? What kind of players was he asking about?
It was more about what's the name, Yugoslavian,
Yugoslavian.
Adriatic League players.
Gotcha.
He asked me about certain guys, then I start to kind of like, hey, I told him like this, and that, and I was like, okay, why wouldn't I write report about those guys? Again, in my opinion,
Right.
and that's how I, did one time. Then he asked me about second guy, I did that, and then I was like, okay, if I do that, let me kind of like write you a couple of reports about players that might be interested, like might be good for NBA. Again, in my opinion, of course.
Yeah. So what maybe it's a stupid question, but what happens with those reports? Do these reports get used by GMs and higher staff to figure out draft orders and
I don't know, honestly. That's
no? Okay. It just goes into a black box.
special for them. Not like for me.
Here's the report. Good luck. Do what you want with
And
it.
then, what happened? Next step was that basically he called me to join summer league of Denver Nuggets, and just basically to get to know me better, and to see how I fit in that group. And
Yeah.
I joined. I was there, part of that stuff, and I got a job after that.
What was that day like when he offered you the contract or he offered you the position? How did that, just like, talk me through the day? Did you go crazy? Was it nervous? Were you excited?
That's like, yeah, it was kind of like I was in my house talking to him. He called. That was after summer league. And,
Yeah.
he called me and was like, "Hey, so like this and that. So, would you like to join us?" I was like, I'm holding my cell phone. I'm like looking at my wife, and she's like, "What?" But I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah. Would you like for this? These are kind of things that you can get, or this."
Right.
I'm like, "Yeah, I'm coming." Anyhow, he asked me like, so I'm like, "When should I come?" He's like, "Which day is today?" Wednesday. Can you come on Saturday? Yeah, sure. Your mind was, oh my god, my dream come true.
That's crazy.
It is.
That's
It is. That's
crazy.
like, and like my older daughter, she was like 6 or 8 months old, and
Yeah.
and you're like, you don't know how to react. But anyway,
Right.
that was like, I mean, every time you need to make that first step is always hard.
So you get to the NBA. What are your first impressions? How did you feel seeing the team? How did you feel about the new job and all that?
Okay, before I answer to that question, I just need to say, like, to mention one more name when you ask me about how did I come to NBA generally.
Yeah.
There is like one basketball coach from Israel, Adi Amar. He came to FMP, to our system, and he was there for like a couple months to learn, to see different kind of things, and he's actually the first guy who
Made that move possible.
yes,
Made that.
he,
Yeah.
he was the guy who said to Yaron Arbel, he said like, hey, I have a good guy, good coach.
Right.
He's doing this and he's doing that, and he's the guy who actually recommended me to Yaron, and then again Yaron recommended me to Tim, and that's actually how I got there. So
Huge.
long story,
Shout out.
yeah, long story short, like be a good person. I think that's all important. So
beautiful. Shout out to him. So you get to Denver, you get to America. There's a lot of things that are moving here. You're taking a newborn. Your first time probably living in America. Denver, not NBA, highest level of basketball on the planet.
Yes.
How was all that?
Oof. It was,
Oof. That's a good summary.
It is because like people don't understand that USA is a continent, and it's not just America is generally continent, but USA is, I mean,
yeah,
it's huge part, right? And different rules are there, and different rules are in Europe. I'm talking about life generally,
right?
And like I literally came there. I was like, okay, so everything is different, like literally from market to how you drive your car. So
right,
how you paying stuff, how you communicate with people.
Right.
Whole culture is different. So it was hard. I don't know. I don't want to lie. It's because it's different. So you need time.
Sure.
You need time to adjust. English is different. Why?
Sure.
Why am I say that? Because in Europe, when they teach you English, usually it goes like, "Hi, my name is Ognjen," and then
yeah,
like, full sentence. And suddenly I came, and everything was way faster. Everything was in slang. Everything was like whoa, like wait.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it wasn't easy at all.
I had the same experience when I was learning Spanish online in Canada, and then I moved to Spain, and then everyone's like a machine gun.
Exactly. At one moment, you're like, "Oh,
I know this.
I got this. This like is see."
See, and they just I'm like, yeah, but see. So yeah, the language, the culture, the basketball. How did the team look? This is.
I think basketball is different because it's
right.
like kind of like certain rules and certain things that apply in Europe that doesn't apply in USA or NBA. And same and different. Like same thing is opposite. So anyhow, you need to adjust to all of those things. So terminology, basketball terminology.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay, so what does it mean? So, but again, when you say someone kind of like pinned down in USA, they know what you're talking about. But when you say back in days, we call that off screen. So
off screen.
kind of like again, terminology is
right. It's like learning English, like British English, and then learning like Australian English, or like it's different. So what does the Nuggets team look like when you arrive? Is this the Nurkic era Nuggets? This is before Jokic.
Yeah, that was like first year. That was year when Nurkic was drafted.
Okay, and what did that look like? Because Nurkic was also
Brian Shaw was head coach. That was
Brian Shaw was head coach. Because Nurkic was also he still is a very talented player, but at the time he was thought to be potentially the next big thing out of the Balkans, right?
Yes,
there was a high ceiling on him.
Yes.
And what did you see when you first got there? Because it was the first time watching him play.
He's, I mean, again, like I think that he's super talented. That's, I mean,
yeah,
and
obvious.
And one thing is like, I think that he has a good career. That's also like, but
yeah,
that's he has great career. So
yeah.
I think that
considering the average NBA career is like 4 years, and he's already like going to be at 10, and he's averaging like 20 and 10. Like,
he's for 9 years.
It's insane.
He's for 9 years, 8 or 9 years. He's NBA starter. So
yeah, that's insane.
I mean, that's a good career. So
that's a really good career.
So
were you working closely with him at the start because of your background, language?
I spent a lot of time. That was one of the reasons why they brought me, because
wow, yeah,
because they drafted a lot of players from Balkan region. So
right.
Geoffrey Lorraine was there. What's his name? Nurk was there. there was like a couple more. They drafted Nikola that year.
Yeah.
And there was like whole that trend was toward the Balkan players or Adriatic League. It's not just about because Joffrey is from France, but from trend was players from that region or
Right.
players that play Adriatic League. Nikola Radicevic was drafted. So later Latko Čančar and so on. So there's players from that region. Now we have Šarić. So
yeah, we have a lot of talent coming from Serbia. What does your job look like there? I get a little bit more detail of what you're doing with the players and stuff like that.
I mean, I was like officially. I mean, officially. I started in the video room basically, but I was helping on the court as well. That's usually that's how it goes. You're like, that's first step. First step. Okay, they put you in your video room and you're helping on the court that player development part, and that's how I started. And I don't want to lie, it was terrible.
Really? Yeah. It's tough.
I know it was tough. It was video room. I didn't like video room, so I was like,
it's like the base. It's like the corporate ladder. You have to start climbing, right?
This to cut this to do that.
Right.
I mean, I'm coaching for 10 years, and I need to do this.
Were you doing video editing? Were you doing like video editing and cutting up footage?
No, yeah, I did, but I did like
a little bit.
Just fundamental kind of basic stuff, and so. But still, I was like, okay, I'm wasting my time here. Like, I need to be on the court. I need to coach, but that's how system works, and it makes sense. That thing actually helped me a lot to learn a system, to figure out certain things, and like I think. There's like famous line, every work pays off, right? So in Serbia, or if we say in Serbian, that would be like svaki rad se isplati.
Svaki rad se isplati, yeah. So all work pays off.
All work pays off.
Yeah.
So it kind of like, again, that I didn't like that in that moment, but I think that was a good thing for me, and I learned a lot during that, especially first year. So
his first year is the Nurkic year. Second year is when Jokic gets drafted.
I think that he was
third.
I think that he was drafted same year as Nurkic.
Same year.
Yeah, I think.
Was he?
We need to check that.
Jokic.
But he came 1 year later. He came.
He played a year. He remained in the Serbian league one more year. 2014 was his draft. Nurkic draft year. 2014, yes. They both got drafted at the same. Wow, that's kind of crazy. Two centers being drafted in the.
And Gary Harris was that year.
What was the plan then? Was the plan to draft both of them because they were the. I mean, Jokic was kind of a free pick, right? Because he was so late in the draft. So they wanted to see which one would develop into a better center. They took both. Because it's weird to draft two centers, no?
Again, not a question for me.
It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to. You can just guess or like, why do you think they drafted two centers? I guess I don't need like a professional.
I mean, both of them were very talented.
Right.
So everyone in their own way. So it's kind of like I assumed that it was okay. I mean, if you have talented players, you want to have as many talented players as possible in your team. So I think that was the idea. So,
did you know about Jokic before he got drafted?
Yes.
How far before did you know?
I mean, I know him because I watched. I used to watch all those games, like under 17, under 18. Pros, like I like to watch those games, especially I like to watch those young kids, and anyhow, I mean, he was unbelievable. He was one of the guys who did a little bit of everything and this and that, and you could see how talented he is. So, I mean,
do you remember the first game?
That's how I knew him. It's not that we knew each other.
Yeah, of course.
I was just, look at this kid. This kid is really talented. It's
yeah. You couldn't predict the career that he's gonna have, but you saw that there was a potential. Do you remember the first time you saw him play? Anything that stood out, or?
I think that was one of those this. So when you ask me this, I can see that game in my head, but I don't know against whom did they
Right, the
play.
details, the
Yeah, it was
specifics.
like I think that they played. That was Adidas tournament. It was in Belgrade in FMP Hala was, and like I saw him on one of those games. That was my first time that I saw him how he plays.
Wow.
But that was again a long time ago. It's 10 years ago or
Sure.
something like that.
That's hard to remember, but is it easier to remember how he arrived to the NBA, how he looked training? What were your first impressions of him on the court, in the weight room, all that kind of stuff?
I mean, I again, like I know that this sounds like a little bit too cocky, but like if you have a chance to talk to Tim Connolly, for example,
Yeah.
so I mean, when he came there, I said, he was like, yeah, so what you think about this or that? I was like, okay, this kid, he has like potential to be like mix of Dirk Nowitzki and Marc Gasol or Paul Gasol. So
Crazy.
Aaron thought like, yeah, right, kind of like, look at this guy, like, Aaron gave me that like
Right.
thumb up.
Well, it's
Yes, okay, I really appreciate your opinion, but so
yeah, I understand it from their perspective too. You're like a young guy from Serbia getting your first job, like in the as a video coordinator. Maybe they're like, oh, he's just biased towards.
of course,
Maybe they thought that. No.
probably, for sure they thought that. So.
Yeah.
Only thing that I'm so happy now, I'm like, okay, I told you guys.
Yeah. What? Look at that. So he gets to start training with you. What was your role with him? What was your relationship like? I heard it was a little bit shaky at the start.
Yeah, because like basically, so next year, like I kind of like moved to PD completely. So like, kind of like video was that first year I finished with that
Sure.
video and PD, and then they moved me to PD, and I was on the court all the time. And when he came, I was assigned to him, or he was assigned to me, and we started to work. And the things that I knew about him, I did my homework before that, about his working habits, attitude, and so on. And according to that, I was like, okay, the first thing that we need to do is to build good working habits. So then we start to work and work and work and work, of course. And then we start to be like, to change certain things and so on. I can talk about that later, but currently it was like the first step was, okay, let's build good habits. And it was rough.
What was that? Do you remember like a funny story, like where you guys were both pissed at each other and?
No, but that's kind of like, again, like I always said, it's normal, like because
Yeah.
all those talented kids and young, especially young talented kids, they know who are they, and they're always stubborn, and they always have their own attitude, and
Sure.
that's how it should be. And
That helps them propel to this
of
to
course,
that level.
that's
Yeah.
the reason why they're so good, And then,
Right.
from another side, my job is to try to put them, or to narrow them, or to support them, or maybe to push them according to whom they are. And
Sure.
like one of my first goals, as I told you, again, with his talent, one of my first goal was like, okay, let's build good habits, let's put you in gym, let's work. And then of course he didn't want, and then we start to change certain things. And the main thing why we changed certain things, because in my mind was, okay, you're like you're talented, we know that. What do we know about your game? You naturally have good touch, which is great, but who are you? You're basically point guard. You're a playmaker.
Right.
You're a 7 foot playmaker. So
Right.
in order to be good playmaker, right, you need to uh, connect defense all the time. In that case, someone will be open. How are you going to do that? Okay, let's explore your touch completely. Let's try to do that all the time, because you're not super athlete, so you're not
Sure.
explosive, but you're long, right? So let's try to, according to your physical abilities and the way how you play, to build up to change certain things in your technique, and tactically long term it is going to help you, which means basically we start to do we worked a lot on floaters like this with left right, this hand,
Right.
that hand, a lot of hooks left right, I tried to I mean, we work a lot on putting that elbow higher when he shoots. And
Yes.
the reason being for that is because he's not athletic, but he's long. So when he put that elbows high, it's almost every time close out for you as a defender, which
Right.
you on your heels. I have advantage, and then I can use my footwork and so on. And again, it's gonna make defense shrink more, and someone will going to be open. So anyhow, we start to work on that, and a lot of mid-range shots, different kind of shots, and he was okay. I'm not going to use that ever. I mean, that's not my game. I will never.
Right.
It's like, why are we doing that? Why we do this? Why we do that? So anyhow,
Right.
which is normal, which is smart.
Yeah.
But it should be like, he
Yeah.
questions that. But from the other side, my job, if I believe in that, is
To guide them in the right direction.
in the right direction. So
Yeah.
anyhow, we go back and forward. Like, he's going in one direction, I'm going in another direction. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, no, we're gonna do that. Now I'm like, okay, now you need to do. Then we put some kind of like, I don't know, we put like. I was standing on a chair, and I hold that.
How many chairs?
Yeah, coming a lot of chairs. So I'm like trying to make him shoot over that, like
Yeah.
extend that arc, like a lot of
Right.
things like that. He was like, when am I going to do this? Like, I will never do this. And now we are laughing about
Sure.
that because, actually he's the best.
A big part of the biggest part of his game.
That area, when he catch that ball in that area, it's
unguardable.
Something good happens for sure.
Yeah.
So
that reminds me, I was gonna say, like when I was living in Serbia, my parents are like, "Oh, we're gonna put you in an English school. You're gonna learn English." And as a kid, I was like, "English?
Yeah.
When am I gonna need that shit?"
I mean, especially according to our mentality.
Right.
So and then like during that period, it was like a lot of ups and downs in our relationship. I mean,
right,
in a funny way, of course.
Yeah, of course.
It's normal again, like because it happens that we didn't talk to each other for like a couple of weeks. It was like like I'm pissed off to him, he's pissed off to me on me, and so on.
Right.
Because
I always wonder, like, if that happens, does like his wife and your wife maybe like, "Hey guys, like go get a coffee together," or something like that.
Yeah, that period, like he wasn't married still, right? But
yeah,
I mean, it was funny, really, because it was funny. It was normal, but
it's like a sitcom. It's like
we came to the gym, like, and we did. Like, we are doing workout, like, but I'm not talking to him. He doesn't talk to me. So I'm like, okay, do this, we do that. Do this, we do that. Okay, we done. See you.
But he still did everything.
And like, we did that like for 2-3 weeks, like, and then after that, we're like, nothing happened.
That's a funny video, like a sketch video. Like he's still listening, he's still doing everything, so you can't even be mad at him.
No, but like he's like, okay, you want me to do?
Yeah.
Do it. Okay, so
I'll do it. Yeah, fine. How many 20 sets? Okay, fine. Okay, can I go now? That's awesome.
And it was fine. Again, I'm walking with my wife, and she's always laughing about that because I have the tendency to talk to myself. I'm one of those guys who are walking down the street, and I'm like, I mean, in my own thoughts. And during that period, I was talking a lot.
Looking for a lot of advice.
That's not because I, always thinking and trying to figure out, okay, does this make sense or doesn't make sense?
Sure.
Analyzing. And every time she's like, okay, are you talking to Nikola again? Because I get back home, I'm like, okay, he's so talented, but he needs to really work like.
Right.
It's like, he really needs and then.
How do I unlock him? How do I unlock this?
Every time.
Yeah. There's a lot of conversation at the start about his weight and cardio. How much was that a problem when he first started playing, and he started playing against these really big physical centers who would beat him up every game?
I mean, again, it's not my field to talk about physical
nutrition, diet, stuff like that.
strength.
Just from an outsider looking at him, being with him.
One of the things that I told you before, the reason why we worked how we worked, and that we asked certain things is because of his natural physical abilities. Because again, he's not athletic guy.
Right.
And the thing that people actually they don't know, he's way stronger than he looks like. I mean, I know that he doesn't have abs, but he's very.
I get it.
He's,
core strength.
yes.
Positioning.
And his like shoulders are wide and strong.
Yeah.
Strong hips, and he's using his body weight great. And again, he's very stronger. But that's a reason why we worked and why we insist on certain things, because that's who he is. Like, our job is basically the main thing about coaching job, in my opinion, is to put the guys in right position to reach their full potential, or to narrow them to go to the certain.
Give them the tools that they need to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
After that, everything is about them, their talent. Like, how far are they going to go? One of the good lines that I heard is almost like you have young player. It's almost like a tree, right? So if you allow that tree to grow up in different directions, it will never reach their full ceiling.
Right.
What are we doing as a coaches? We're just trying to trim it a little bit and to help that
support it, go straight and
go up.
Wow.
And
good analogy.
Again, that's how I'm thinking about it.
The reason I asked that is because I have heard many people say, like, oh, he's got, naturally big shoulders. He's got more strength than he looks. And I was wondering, is that a natural thing that he had, or is that some sort of special workouts that were more like, kettlebell or something that was more like functional strength as opposed to the traditional weights?
I mean, he's naturally strong, but things that I know for sure that he's in the weight room, he is unbelievable. Like, he's doing he has his own routine. He's a routine guy. So he's again,
crazy.
It's funny now when we talk.
Yeah, crazy.
And the funniest part ever is actually now people who come to watch Denver Nuggets or come to watch our workouts, practices, his workouts. They're like, he's such a hard worker. He's so his own routine. I'm like, yeah, right. He has his own routine. Now, yes.
Yeah, but isn't that funny that I don't know if you say you don't go much on the internet, but the whole internet / meme culture is like, Jokic doesn't care, he doesn't work out, and yet he has all these, like, he's just naturally gifted. How ridiculous is that kind of stuff when you see it?
Because no one really knows how hard he works. He works very hard, and he's very, he's a routine guy. He's doing his routine. He doesn't go of course, we are changing certain things according to the situation, but he is super hard worker. See all this gray?
That's from that. That's good to know. You start working with Nikola. He starts growing exponentially. Was there a different mindset, a big shift once Nurkic left and Nikola was able to fully take on the role and be the go-to person on the team, the main center, and also then the eventual leader of the team?
I mean, it's not about all that. It's very hard to say that's one thing. It's that's
the catalyst or the big moment. Yeah, it's not. There's not one thing.
It is still a process.
Yeah.
Every year he was better and better. When you start to analyze his career, each and every year he progress and his numbers are a little bit better, or he's better in certain things, and think about him, he's maturing, he's growing. He came from the situation where he's just one of the guys in the team. He came to the situation that he's a leader, and that he actually become an even vocal leader on and off the court, which is also process, right? It's also a process of growing up, forcing certain things, him feeling more comfortable. It's like, again, it's a process. There's no such thing like success doesn't come overnight.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
And there's no simple answer for these questions.
Everything's build up and build up and
Right.
build up, and the end, you can see results. The result that are people seeing now, it's something that was built up for 10 years. It's not just came.
It's not overnight. Yeah. Jokic is approaching 30, 29, 30 in February, 3 MVPs, NBA title, many, hopefully more to come. You said he continues to improve, and his teammates have all said he continues to improve every year. He is currently one of the most complete basketball players maybe in history. So how does one continue to improve? Or is it now just about maintaining that level of ability?
That's that is a great question. Like, it's kind of like the main thing now is, again, according to my opinion, is uh, since he's playing heavy minutes, right, and he's the guy who is, like, very dedicated. Now we need to find him time to basically. I think that the right answer would be to get rest.
Rest, yeah.
Let me tell you something like this, because again, he's already there. His routine is there. His habits are great. Everything around, he knows the game. And he won already. Won MVP as a as a leader.
He's won everything there is to win in basketball.
Now we just need to find him, like find him right right time to help him to find to get him rest, to be the best when it needs.
When he needs the biggest moments, he's rested.
Exactly. Everything else is going to come.
I wonder then, because I've seen many pictures of him and Djokovic. Obviously, there was also when you guys won the silver medal, and there's the party in Belgrade. Is there maybe a route there where you go to a guy like Djokovic who has found the success and has found the longevity of success, and he's done what you're kind of talking about? He's cut down the tournaments he's playing. He's playing a lot less games. He's fully aware of his ability. He's developed every part of his game. Now it's just about peaking at the right time. So Djokovic plays like a third of the games per year now that he used to play, and I think that's why he's playing so long. How do you do that in a basketball sense? Because you have an 82-game season, you have playoffs, you have Olympics, you have FIBA, you have all the stuff that you're expected to compete in. Like, you have contracts and stuff. It's not like tennis where you can say, "Oh, I don't want to come to this tournament. Like, I'm gonna wait for the next one."
I mean, you can do like a lot of things with rest in between the games. Resting in between.
Like load management, and that's the most hated term in NBA. But load management is what you're referring to?
No, I'm talking about, like, generally speaking, as like in between games, you have, for example, 1 or 2 days off. So all those workouts, kind of like to find the right volume of those workouts and so on. Of course, load management is also one of the tools that you can use, but it's a live process. Everything's live.
Yeah.
Like, it cannot. There is no magic pill for anything. There is no. My dad used to say he's an engineer, so he always said thing like, in his job, 2 and 2 is not always 4, and in my job, 2 and 2 are never 4, which means basically, like, and there's also one more analogy. You always have some kind of material that you're working with. So there's, like, for example, wood, or I don't know, like, you have different kind of piece of wood. Like, you don't work with wood in the same way as working with another.
Right, like a plastic or a brick.
Plastic or other material. So anyhow, it's a process. Now we need to be smart and, like, to figure out how to manage all that so he can still like be going like at least a little bit higher, or if not, at the same level, which is also great. and to
Was there any? Yeah,
and to extend his basketball longevity.
sure,
Because now, when you come to the certain age, that's very
sure.
part of coaching or
Of just life. It's you're gonna get older. You're gonna have yeah, you're gonna have more problems, soreness, injuries.
so that's something that we need to figure out also. It's gonna be fun, because it's
Yeah,
gonna be
a new challenge.
new challenge, and we're gonna see.
Speaking of
There are a couple ideas, but we're gonna see.
Okay, speaking of that, then a good transition to Olympics, getting ready for that. Was there any trouble because obviously Jokic wanted to play for the Olympic team, especially after he saw the success you had at the World Cup. Was there any trouble with talking with the Nuggets Association? Because there's a lot of talk always. Oh, we don't want to send our NBA talent to like these tournaments where they can get injured and shit like that. Is there any problems with that?
I mean, general. I mean, it is not the right question for me, because
No,
it's not my thing to talk about that, and it would be ungrateful
sure.
for me to talk about it like it. But thing that I would like to say is that all the generation of Serbian basketball players are such good friends, and,
Right.
and they all love each other as friends, and they all like to spend time together and to hang out and so on. So,
Right. I
honestly,
think it's maybe then the wrong thought process because a lot of these NBA fans like, oh, my favorite player is going like to get injured in this thing. When they're like, maybe the better thought process is like, hey man, this is like something he's really loves. His country, he's playing with his friends. Like, would you want to be robbed of that moment if you were in the situation?
exactly. And again, I know that he wanted to play World Cup as well, but again, his body couldn't.
Long season,
Exactly.
yeah,
That season was so long, and just he wasn't focused, and like ready to go there and be part of the group. And again, in my opinion, representing country on some kind of big tournament, I think that's
there's nothing bigger. There's nothing more valuable. Yeah,
that was my kid's dream. So
yes, that's every Serbian kid's dream. That's like the ultimate goal of anyone, I'd say.
100%. When I was a kid, I honestly I never thought. My dream wasn't to be part of NBA. My dream was to be part of Serbian national.
Right, right.
That was
That's
my,
that's a big difference with Serbia and like let's say America. I don't think an American college student is thinking about representing Team America. I think their goal is to get to the NBA much more so.
I think that you're right, but again, it's my
Sp-
opinion.
uh, sp- Speaking of the Serbian team, you've now worked for the World Cup. You're now working for the Olympics. You've had a busy few weeks. How's that atmosphere? What's different between working with the national team and working for the Nuggets? Talk to me a little bit about that experience.
I mean, it is more matter of pride. Being part of national team,
Yeah.
it's different feeling, different vibe, different. You're not.
A little more joy. Is it more joyful? Is it more fun? How does it like? Because I mean,
It's more joyful.
yeah,
Well, you feel more kind of like, okay, this is something
yeah,
higher goal. That's
yeah.
something bigger than you.
Right. What do you think what are our goals for the Olympics? We have the strongest team maybe in history that we've ever put out, arguably.
I mean,
So
it's always ungrateful to talk about that, because
yeah, I don't want to. Let's just say they have a really good team. We have a really good team, high expectations. Does that weigh on you, on the team, the coaches, the players?
in my opinion, and I always says this is I say this. Let's go one step at a time, because all
Yeah,
those like all those hyping, talking,
it's the worst.
that's the worst. I don't
Yeah,
like that personally, and all this. We're gonna be this team, or no. Hey, let's go one step at a time. Let's be in the moment, and good things gonna happen. And hey, like if we win, it's great. We will lose, and I hope we will not lose, right?
sure, of
But
course.
did we give our best? If we give our best,
That's the most important thing.
if we are locked in, we give our best. Hey, that's who we are. And let's be in the moment. And again, we respect everyone, but we don't afraid of no one, of anyone.
Sure,
So it's kind of like
fair.
that's a mix. So, and that's how we actually our national team always, and how our players always thinking about it. Huge respect to everyone, but we are not afraid.
I had a question that I kind of made a video on with the help of your brother a little bit, giving me some insider information about the Sombor Shuffle. I want to hear it though from the source how that move came about. Also, I don't. Where did the name come? Who named it? Do you know who called it the Sombor Shuffle?
One of our, I think Marlo gave it.
Really?
I think 99% of the time right. So
Got to put that on a T-shirt.
he like,
How did the move come about? Yeah, I want to know. I want to hear from you. How did you develop that with him? And
I mean, because one of the things we are getting back to his athleticism.
yeah, of course.
So in my mind, okay, what kind of shots he needs to have? Okay, he has shots when he's open, all those touches, and
Right.
so on. So elbow high that gives him chance to shoot over the more athletic people. But then was in my mind, okay, what else can we do if he needs to shoot some kind of shot that basically you want to shoot shot that literally defense cannot influence that shot. So adding that knee up, putting that knee up from one leg, it gives you chance, gives you more, even more distance from the defense. Then I was like, I was analyzing Steve Nash. I was analyzing, what's his name, Dirk Nowitzki. Okay, so makes sense what kind of shot, why they took all those shots, because again, it's according to their physical abilities and all those things that was useful for them. So I was like, okay, let's try to do that because that can help him, give him one more tool, and that's how we start to work on that one leg shot. But what happened in meantime, he twists his ankle. I think it was his left ankle. It starts to hurt him. So then he started to do it only of the right leg. And
It looks awkward a little bit, yeah.
yeah, and then he started to do it of the right leg, and
Right.
it suit him. And
Right.
of course, and there's this, basic coach rule when your coach is when you see that something suits to the player and they feel comfortable in that situation. Okay, now
Do it.
do it because that's how you
Yeah.
learn from the players. You need to
Right.
serve them and learn from them. That's how we started.
That's crazy. It's now one of the most recognizable moves in the NBA.
Yeah, but it's him. Like
It's fully him.
It's of course, because if he's not talented, if he cannot do that, I mean,
I was watching some footage from Instagram of warm-ups, and I saw him in a few clips doing like a regular traditional guard fadeaway off 2 feet. I'm wondering always when I see things like this, like he probably has known how to do this for a while, but you're just trying to get it to a point where it's so effective that you have to use it. How is there any other secret moves we can expect in the future to his arsenal that he's still working on in the background that he's not fully ready to commit
I think that I mean basically it's
a 7-footer fadeaway is like why would
that's it. Think what we did and what we are doing now. It's more kind of like situational, are more situational things, which means one thing lead to another. Like we start with like things that's long term is gonna help him be who he is. Then
right
according to the game, and like when we saw certain kind of like holes that we need to fill in, we add more ball handling, more playing, attacking from the perimeter, like
right
nail ISOs. That's something that
in certain pick and roll position stuff like that, very situational stuff.
exactly.
Yeah,
So that's how we kind of like adding or changing things, or if defense guard him a certain way, we try to add all those small wrinkles. But long story short, again, in my mind, I'm not sure even that I'm right, but that's something that I learned from that old coach Dragan Dragosavac, that
yeah,
each and every player needs to know how to play face to the basket, side to the basket, and back to the basket. In that case,
right.
you have like, and we basically all those perimeter technique or inside game technique, elbow technique, we just mixed up everything. And again, he's such a talented and smart basketball player and great person. So it's just actually I look way better because of him. So that's good.
I mean, what's the expression? A rising tide raises all boats. So
I mean, that's
why not? When you first won the when he first won the MVP, you actually went to Sombor with him, right? To give him the
I think
trophy,
was
or second.
second one. That's
What I want to know what that experience was like. What did you guys? I mean, obviously, probably some rakia was enjoyed, but what else did you
I mean,
did you do?
it was great. It was so emotional.
Yeah,
We didn't know about that, so we all came. There's from Denver Nuggets came Josh Conke, our owner, Mike Malone, Nick was there, Bob was there.
wow, the whole everyone.
Felipe was there. It was like Tim Connolly was there, so it was
Wow,
like 5, 6, 7 of us. If I miss someone, I apologize. Then they organize everything with people from Serbia, actually from with his family, his agent, and we all
sure.
there. It was a surprise. His friends were there, like the closest friends,
Yeah,
and he was riding his. He was. I'm not sure he's the right word.
he's a character.
Yeah, he did like
Yeah.
his thing with the horse. I don't know, like. So he didn't know that we're gonna be there. So he got back and he saw us. Music was there, and
Yeah,
music started, and
Tamburashi. A little
Tambura,
bit.
and we all. It was so emotional. Honestly, it was such a nice. It was really nice. It was almost like. I mean, I cannot. You
You have to be there. You have to experience it to.
So you cannot
Yeah.
explain that.
So the final thing I have a question for you is you have quite the career ahead of you. Obviously, what are your big aspirations going forward? Are you looking to become a head coach, assistant coach? Are you taking it day by day, stuff like that?
I mean, my personal goal is become a head coach. That's kind of like that, or kind of like my lowest goal would be like a little bit lower goal would be like lead assistant and basically offense oriented. That's
Wow,
that's
cool.
kind of like one of those two things. But like it's gonna be head coach. It doesn't need to be NBA or whatever, but it's gonna theoretically I'm ready for my next step and it's gonna happen.
Come to Valencia. Come coach our team here in Valencia.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice. We got a little bit of sun. Nielos.
Nielos, not bad.
Not bad. Ogi, thank you so much. I mean, I get why you and Jokic work together. You're both very nice, humble guys. Never speak highly of yourselves, but clearly your work has paid off, and the success you've had is phenomenal. So I wish you the best in the upcoming Olympics and the next NBA season.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think that this is a good line. It's like I think that it just happened that in that moment he needed someone like me and I needed someone like him. So we just
I hope they won't make a movie one day. It's like a Serbian buddy cop, kind of like a comedy. And
who knows? Who knows?
yeah.
Thank you so much, John.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for calling.